1982 GM CK trucks, a C.A.F.E quantum leap. GM leapfrogs over the 81 model year with an 82 CK pickup that already meets 1985's 19.5 mile per gallon light truck C.A.F.E standard. There's been a shocking 30% price increase of the basic C10 since 1979. It's gone from $4,775 to $6,170. But at least this year it adds standard equipment including radial tires, a chrome front bumper, and a new fully synchronized 4-speed. And GM is encouraging dealers to further pad profits with big-ticket add-ons. This new Max Cab sports an arm's length list of dealer-installed gewgaws. They take up a big share of the payload of the new 5,600-pound gross vehicle weight K10. When 1974 C.A.F.E standards were set for pickup trucks, a 6,001-pound gross vehicle weight was the starting point for heavy-duty trucks that evaded regulation and could still burn leaded fuel. Gas-guzzling 4x4s weren't counted either. Soon Ford introduced the F-150 in 1975. In 76, Chevy and GMC introduced the Big Ten and Heavy Half, which qualified for heavy-duty emissions. Dodge followed with the D-150 smog law cheater. But by 1978, President Carter decided his Clean Air Act delay for passenger cars should be balanced by eliminating Ringer Mega Cube heavy half-ton trucks, which were marketed as street machines that could outrun Trans Ams. For 79, the heavy-duty emission standard was raised to 8,500 pounds, where the 1-ton rating once started. For 1980, the half-ton 4x4s were also required to meet C.A.F.E standards, and Ford was ready with a radically remade F-Series. Dodge and GM canceled their half-ton hot rods, and everyone dropped fuel-swilling full-time four-wheel drives. GM kept building 80 CKs till December 1st, which let Chevy recapture the model year sales flag from Ford after 3 years. GM spent 2 months retooling for a 1982 model that starts production on February 15, 1981. New GM CK trucks are more moderately revised than the 80 Ford, with the same sheet metal from the windshield back. The new front clip has lower wheel well lips, 0.4-inch longer front overhang, down-sloping hood, a narrower grille and front bumper, and an air dam to decrease aero drag. All models under 8,500 pounds gross vehicle weight use easier rolling radial tires, lower drag disc brakes, a torque converter clutch on automatics, thriftier axle ratios, and optional overdrive fourth gears. The 10, 20, and 30 gross vehicle weight series are divided into 6. The Big Ten is now called the C-15. There is a new 8,600-pound gross vehicle weight C-25, and the dual rear wheel 1-ton is now called C-35. GM uses lighter, high-strength, low-alloy steel in the bumpers, and a new aluminum transfer case. Lighter two-wheel drive half-ton suspension and frame, narrower 4x4 front axle, and lighter leaf springs. The decrease in curb weight ranges from 95 pounds on the C10 to 300 pounds on the K20. The new Chevy Max Cab, or GMC Club Coupe, has side-facing rear jump seats and a 6.5-foot bed on the 131.5-inch wheelbase half-ton models. Chevy and GMC now offer 3 cabs, while Ford now only offers regular and super cabs, and Dodge has a regular or crew cab. Max Cab and Club Coupe are in the mold of the defunct Dodge Club Cab, sitting 2 side saddle like the Club Coupes of the 1930s. They require power brakes, larger tires, and a Scottsdale or Silverado trim, which includes cab back insulation and a vanity panel. All 82 Chevy engines get an engine fan clutch like GMC has been using for 8 years now. The three-way computer-controlled catalyst, originally a performance bane, has been reworked into a boon, allowing GM to bring back 1960s compression ratios and camshaft timing while remaining smog legal. Chevy's new 5,000cc 305 cubic inch electronic spark control, or ESC V8, gets 6-cylinder gas mileage with big V8 horsepower. It has a 9.2 to 1 compression ratio, high-strung 320-degree duration camshaft, 795 cubic feet per minute carburetor, a big dual-outlet Corvette catalytic converter, and single-muffler twin exhaust, which is cheaper than dual-muffler exhaust. A sensor listens for knocking or pre-ignition and then retards ignition timing, which allows the high compression ratio on regular octane fuel and very high RPM power peaks. The half-ton two-wheel drive 5,000cc cranks out 240 foot-pounds of torque at 3,200 RPM and 175 horsepower at 4,800 RPM, thanks to a tuned controlled combustion system. All other models have 5 fewer horsepower and foot-pounds of torque because they use an air injection reactor smog pump. GM uses ESC in its new 4900 301 cubic inch V8. It uses an even higher 9.5 to 1 compression ratio and a 308 degree duration cam to make the same 175 horsepower, but at 4,400 RPM. The MPG race has given the Chevy 4100, also known as 250 cubic inch inline 6, increased relevance. Power improves with a vacuum pulse smog pump replacing the belt-driven smog pump. A new camshaft increases economy. The light-duty version makes 120 horsepower at 4,000 RPM, 205 foot-pounds of torque at 2,000 RPM. 115 horsepower 4100 with 215 foot-pounds of torque at only 1,600 RPM is the new standard engine on the C-25 and 30, replacing the 292.6. It has a forged crankshaft and connecting rods to handle increased loads. GMC's half-ton's new 3,800cc Buick V6 weighs 60 pounds less than the Chevy 4100.6 and gets 1 mile per gallon greater EPA rating. GM trucks exchange a standard 3-speed manual for a revised SM465 4-speed manual. GM wants to sell more manual trannies to boost its corporate average fuel economy, so GM's Muncie division revised the SM465 around the half-tons 273 and 308 axle ratios. This milks the power band of smaller engines to improve performance. Muncie synchronized the granny low gear and decreased the ratio from 655 to 1 to 533 to 1, so C10s will use the first gear in routine driving. They can still crawl at 4 miles per hour at idle RPM, but GM says starting out in first gear extends clutch life. A weakness in the old version was the big RPM drop from second to third gear, so the 358 to 1 second gear was raised to 309 to 1. A taller 157 to 1 third gear replaces the 170 to 1 ratio. It allows 410 and 456 axle C25 and 35 models to reach 55 miles per hour in third gear. In half-tons with the 273 axle, third is an alternate power cruising gear of 429 to 1 overall for hauling heavy loads in hilly country. A new 4-speed manual overdrive uses the SM465 second to fourth ratios for the first 3 gears with a 0.73 to 1 fourth gear. The half-ton 4-wheel drive weighs nearly 600 pounds more than the 2-wheel drive, so GM gave it a big MPG boost by making the overdrive manual standard. ESC V8 K10 rates 17 miles per gallon city, a 20% increase over the 80 350 cubic inch V8 version. Buy a 6.5-foot box C10 with the 4-speed overdrive, 273 axle, and ESC 5000 V8, and you get the super economy truck with free dual headlights, special tires, and aero wheel covers. It rates an impressive 20 mile per gallon city, 28 miles per gallon highway. That's better than any new passenger car V8. It's a 43% better rating than the 1979 350 V8, but it accelerates quicker. You get a standard 16-gallon gas tank on the short box, 20 gallons on the long box, or optional $177 dual 16-gallon tanks, which give it a 900-mile range. The new 4-speed overdrive turbo-hydromatic 700R transmission replaces the turbo-hydromatic 350 3-speed on C20 2000 and half-ton 4x4 models. It's a stronger automatic developed for trucks, not to be confused with the light-duty turbo-hydromatic 200R. This $430 option grants the ESC V8 C10 the same 17 mile per gallon city rating as a Chevy Malibu V8 wagon. It has a wider ratio spread with a 306:1 first gear instead of 252. Second gear increases from 152 to 1.625, and fourth is an 0.70 overdrive. It has a torque converter with a lockup clutch in second through fourth to eliminate slippage and decrease RPM. The 700R with the 273 axle ratio has nearly the same first gear multiplication as the 342 axle with the 3-speed automatic, but a thrifty 1.91 final drive. C10 and 15 models also get a turbo 350 3-speed option that includes the lockup clutch. All 4x4s get an instrument panel indicator light. K10 through 25, GMC K1000 through 2500 have a new quadrant 4-wheel drive shifter and aluminum NP208 transfer case, which can be shifted into 4-wheel drive at up to 25 miles per hour. You don't have to get out to lock the hub since they engage automatically. It has an anytime advantage where you can quickly engage 4-wheel drive while in motion before getting stuck. It has the fuel savings of 2-wheel drive operation on dry ground. Simply shift back into 2-wheel drive and reverse 10 feet to unlock the hubs. The NP208 has a 2.61:1 low range for 30% more multiplication. It more than compensates for new economy axle ratios. The K30 and 35 get a synchronized NP205 steel transfer case with the same auto-locking hubs. It adds the ability to run power takeoff shafts from the transfer case. 4x4 options include transfer case and gas tank stone shields, fully locking G80 rear axle, and new quad front shocks. The CK truck team is bifurcated into the Chevrolet and GMC groups, a result of antitrust law going back 15 years. That has meant Chevrolet had to make substantial differences in their wares from the rest of GM, which has come to mean essentially different engines. GMC, which has used Olds V8 since 1973, has gained market share from offering the Olds 350 V8 diesel since 1978 on half-ton 2-wheel drive models. GMC knew that by expanding diesel engine availability, they could avoid downsizing, but reached 1985 MPG standards 3 years early. They wanted to include heavy-duty trucks that are not part of the C.A.F.E regime, so it needed more power without increased fuel and consumption. So GM asked GM subsidiary Detroit Diesel to boost the durability and power of the 350 Olds diesel. They created an all-new engine that happens to have the same bore spacing and deck height as the Olds 350. For more displacement, they increased stroke from 3.385 inches to 3.675 inches by using 0.3-inch shorter 5.7-inch connecting rods. While signs of diesel conversion were all over the 350, this 380 cubic inch 6200 cc version has none. There are no water passages in the manifold and no converted distributor drive shaft. To increase durability and rigidity, it uses 4-bolt main bearing caps and 5-bolt per bore cylinder heads. The camshaft is forged and it uses roller valve lifters. Sensors monitor water in the fuel and you can easily siphon water out. It includes a fuel line heater and plug-in engine block heater for easy winter starting. The dual exhaust was enlarged to boost power. The crowning touch was the new heads with evenly spaced exhaust ports and a Ricardo Comet pre-combustion chamber, which preheats and premixes the fuel. It speeds flame travel for more thorough combustion, making the 6200 50-state emissions legal. Chevrolet didn't want to be left out and asked Detroit Diesel to dieselify its 400 cubic inch V8. It's been the top option for 4x4 since 1974. It has the same 4.07-inch stroke and 2.75-inch crankshaft journals as the 454 cubic inch V8. Chevy got the same goodies as the Olds GMC 6200, including the Ricardo Comet head, but its extra displacement yields more power. The 6200 makes 130 horsepower at 3600 RPM, 10 more than the 1980 GMC 350 diesel. A heavy-duty emission 6200 makes 135 horsepower. Chevy 6600 offers 140 horsepower on both heavy-duty and light-duty models. Both have torque peaks at 2,000 RPM, with 240 foot-pounds for GMC, which is 20 more than the 80 350 cubic inch diesel, and 255 foot-pounds for Chevy 6600. Either can tow 9,000 pounds in 1 tons, 6,000 pounds in half tons. Chevy brags that its 6600 is the first diesel designed exclusively for light trucks and produced in a unique truck engine plant. Diesel 4-speed manuals have a standard tachometer. Governor limits diesel RPM to 4,000. Idling diesel only consumes half the fuel as an idling gas engine. It burns about 20% less fuel under load than a gas engine of the same horsepower, thanks to the 21.5 to 1 compression ratio. CK diesel fuel economy ratings rank with mid-size V6 cars. At the top of the economy and capability heap is the 7,200-pound gross vehicle weight GMC C-2000, with identical EPA ratings as the C-1500 diesel. 23 city, 31 miles per gallon highway, with the overdrive 4-speed manual. Diesels include dual exhaust, dual batteries, a heavy-duty radiator, 66-amp alternator, hydraulic assist power brakes, oil cooler, more sound insulation than the Silverado trim, a hood ornament, and tailgate and fender badges. Diesel half-tons add standard power steering, bigger tires, and heavy-duty front springs. Diesels increase curb weight 350 pounds and cost $2,200. That's over a third of the C10's base price. But GM hopes to make fuel savings a contest of conspicuous non-consumption.